Hello everyone, thanks for tuning to Sin's Workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. It is time for my December wrap-up. First of all, I read 170 books last year. That's, I think, a new personal best for me. So my new reading goal for this year is 130 books. Hopefully I can get to that. Anyway, December. I read 15 books, which I knew I wasn't going to read the 20 I wanted to. Holiday season, retail, long hours, super exhausted after some shifts that I'd read to my son, and then I promptly passed out, or I just desensitized by playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider. You know, that was my December. I'm just like, I'm too tired to even read. Let me just play video games. It's like, you know, because it's already a game I've 100% in. So I'm not that hugely invested. Just something to kill the time. But I am really proud of myself for finishing the 15 books. Let's get down to it. My printer's still not printing properly, so to the tabby I go. Ta-da! Alright, so the first book that I did finish was Morning Star by Pierce Brown. I love that book. I absolutely love that book. I think Severo is my favorite character, if I'm being perfectly honest. I like Octavia too, but Severo is just crazy, and I love him so much. The amount of heart attacks this book gave me. It was relentless. It was nonstop. I love the way it kind of just concluded this arc. I am gonna see about finishing the rest of the series. I'm really hoping Fairy will do another Mortal or Iron edition, so that way I can have a complete matching set to my Red Rising trilogy. But this is a book I ended up getting the audiobook for it because I just wasn't reading it fast enough, and I just also didn't want to put it down. So on the bus ride, audiobook. Read on my lunch break. On the off chance that it was slow at work, audiobook went in. I just didn't want to put it down. I was devouring this book. Lots of plot twist. Lots of me literally just falling off the edge of my seat. Gasping moments. That ending, the whole last quarter of the book, I was like, what is happening? No! And then I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, no! And I was like, oh, okay. The amount of plot twist were amazing. They really, Pierce Brown really kept me at the edge of my seat. It was honestly such an amazing trilogy. I'm so mad it took me this long to read it, but now I need to continue. So I'll probably just try to get the audiobooks. But first I have to finish reading all the books that I kind of have here. And then I'll get to it. I know if I own it, I will get to it, so I don't like having a mismatched set. That's my thing. After that, I read a Treachery of Swans. So I think I like this book more than Where the Dark Stands Still, which is Paranic's previous novel. I think this one was better because I felt like it was more engaging, you know? You don't know. Maybe you do know. I don't know if you read the book yet. It's kind of... It is a Swan Princess retelling, but it has elements of the Goose Girl in there. You know, it follows Odile, and she's not a con artist, really, but she has stolen the princess's identity with magic because she's trying to get this relic for her adoptive father so they can kind of bring magic back into the realm or make it less forbidding. You know, that's their goal, right? And in order to do that, to steal the princess's identity, because she has to get, the crown, the magical crown, right? Kewin, her love interest, who is Marie Beldet, also known as Odette, And she is not only, her love interest, but she's the princess whose identity she stole and turned into a swan against her will. And she's also a childhood friend of hers that something happened when they were kids involving a pearl necklace. The details in the book are a little fuzzy on it, and they don't really delve fully into it. Like, it involved someone taking a pearl necklace and then I guess her kind of framing O'Neill for it because she didn't want to face her mother's wrath. Something along those lines. Maybe I missed it, but that's like the gist of it. So something happened when they were kids, that incident, and then that created the rift between them. And that's part of the reason why O'Neill doesn't feel as bad as she normally would have, stealing her former friend's / love interest's identity. Because it's like, well, you wronged me, so now I'm going to wrong you. I think what's really, really good about this book is you're always second guessing O'Neill. Like, her motives. Like, I don't always know if I can trust her. But the character dynamics are so well done, and the character growth and development that makes you want to trust her. I love how she reforms her friendship with Odette. And then I love the way it develops their romance. And I even love the character development of Odette. And she's a side character. She doesn't have a point of view. But you get to see a development in her characterization. And you get to know her. You get to experience why she did the things that she did. Not that it makes them better, but you understand that she herself, when she was a princess, she was more trapped than when she was cursed as a swan. Princess by night, swan by day. Now she experiences and has more freedom living in this cursed existence versus when she was an actual princess. So you get to understand her and you get to see her growth. And through her growth, both of them, they affect one another. And you get to see their development. And you get to see the romantic development of their characters. And it's really quite engaging. But again, even at the end, even at the last moment, you are constantly second guessing O'Neill. You're just like, was she going to choose adopted father or is she going to choose love interest? Like, what's going to happen? You can't fully trust her, because she does go back on her word sometimes throughout the novel. And that's really good. An unreliable narrator makes for a really interesting plot because it's engaging and charismatic as she is and you want to root for her. You still don't know exactly how the story is going to end. Like, obviously, we all, oh yeah, she's totally going to end up with the princess. But how's she going to get to that point? What's going to happen to get to that point? What trials are they going to face to get to that point? And it's really interesting to see all of that develop, and just kind of flourish. So I really, really enjoyed the novel, and I enjoyed it more so than her previous one. After that, I read House of Hearts, which was sent to me by the publisher. Thank you again to the publisher. This was an unexpected delight, honestly. It follows Violet, and what Violet's doing is she's going to this prestigious, first of all, it's a dark academia gothic, and I just kind of said, yes, please, request, and then the publisher sent it to me. So I just kind of do that. If I see common genres that I like, I just full on request the book without reading the full description. So that's why I was kind of surprised. And then I don't really read the flap of the book. I'm like, oh, this looks interesting, and then I just start reading. I'm really, really bad doing that. Just go with my gut. But it follows Violet, and she has to go to the Heart Academy because she needs to investigate the death of her friend, and she's determined that the headmistress's firstborn son, she is convinced that he is responsible for her death. And in a way he is, but not in the way that she thinks. Turns out the school legacy is cursed. The creator of Heart Academy, his youngest daughter, killed herself and cast a curse on the family bloodline that they are forever cursed to kill their soulmates, right? So the story is about breaking this curse. So it has a little bit of dark academia, but nothing is as it seems. There is some haunting moments. I really dig, the atmosphere. It was really more interesting than I thought it was going to be, and I really liked the dark academia aspect of the story. What I didn't like, and this is my only grievance, because even the romance I liked, because you get to see Violet develop her romance in these kind of funny, snarky moments that also allow moments of vulnerability between the two characters. So you get to see that emotional depth form between them. What I didn't like, my only grievance, is that ending felt very, very rushed. I felt like, okay, how do we get to this point? Like, how did you solve this mystery? You definitely didn't have enough information to be solving this mystery to get you to this point. So I wanted a little bit more investigation, a little bit more to take us to that point. Because even for me, and I read the book line for line, and I'm like, yes, you still could have had the ending exactly like this, but I would have wanted a little bit more investigation, a little bit more of the diary entries from the Heart's Daughter. I wanted a little bit more. I think it could have been easily another 30-45 pages longer, and I think that would have been enough for me. But that's my only grievance, is it felt too quick. It felt too quick of an ending. After that, I read back-to-back Joy to the Girl. She Gets the Girl and Joy to the Girls by Rachel Lippencourt and her wife, Alison Derrick. They co-wrote both of the books together. She Gets the Girl follows Alex and Molly? Yeah, Molly. Molly? Yeah. Did I? Pretty sure it's Molly. Don't judge me. Yes, Molly. Okay. So you get, sorry, because I read their other book too, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Alex and Molly, two girls you would have never thought had anything to do with each other. So Alex is helping Molly, like, get the girl. Like, I'm going to teach you the rules on how to get the girl. Because Alex, she's kind of a playa. But she's doing this to prove that she has friends. To her girlfriend, who's kind of estranged, and she's not really worth her time, honestly. She's doing this to prove to her aspiring rock star girlfriend who's on tour that she can be friends with chicks without flirting. Like, she could totally have healthy relationships with other girls. Her girlfriend's really insecure, honestly. So she meets Molly, and she can tell Molly likes this one girl. So she's like, I'm gonna help you get the girl. It's a dual POV novel. You really get to know each of these characters, and their flaws and their inner turmoil and a lot of the baggage that each of them have. And as you're reading it, you're seeing them develop a friendship. And then the friendship develops into romance. And they both realize, without telling the other one, while they're still pursuing their other relationships, like, wow, I like her. Like, nope, not going to think about her. I'm in this relationship. This is the relationship that I wanted, and this is the one I'm going to pick. Right? I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a book I wouldn't normally pick up. I'm a horror, sci-fi, fantasy girly. So contemporary romances are not the books that I go to the bookstore shopping for. But I do enjoy, occasionally, stepping out of my comfort zone. So when publishers are just like, hey, do you want to read this book? I'm like, well, if you're going to send it to me, why the heck not? And I'm really glad I did. It was a really wholesome read. It was quick. I loved the emotional impact it had on me, to the point where I got to know these girls. So I was invested in them. I'm like, y'all just need to tell each other that you love each other. It just get on with it. Come on. I was emotionally invested in their relationship. And that carried on into Joy to the Girls, which takes place 3 years later, sorry. Takes place years later. They're still together. Our girls are still together. Right? But they each have their own little secret. When Alex asks her to move in with her, Molly's just like, I gotta, accepted into this master's program for writing in Oxford. So it's this really short novella. It takes place in, I think, Bournemouth, Pennsylvania. And it's like a small town Christmas story. It was great to read in December, honestly. It was short. It was sweet. You got to see our girls were still together. And I like the ending of their story. You know, they're still together. They're gonna make it work. And again, we know who these girls are. We know how far they've come. We've got to see them develop so far that it's really, really interesting and engaging and kind of heartwarming to see them get to this point, you know, without, I didn't need a book of each year of them together. They're still together. That's all I needed to know. And I love that they are together because they balance each other out. All right, I followed that up with Fugitive 6 and Returns to Zero. So these are the concluding novels to the Lorien Legacies series, you know, starting with I Am Number 4. This is books 2 and 3 of the Lorien Legacies Reborn series, and they were okay. They were okay. I enjoyed them for what they were, but I think the problem is it felt, you know, in Lorien Legacies, the original series, you really get to know all of the characters. There's it's a seven book series, right? I have them right here. It's a 7-book series. So you really get to know these characters and their flaws and, you know, epics, you know, battles against Mogadorians. This is a 3-book trilogy following teenagers, and you really don't get to know these teenagers as well, you know? They're just kind of there to drive the plot, which is evil organization that is kidnapping or blackmailing people with Lorien powers into their service, right? That's basically it. So it's not as great a story as the original series. It's fun, you know, it's interesting. I do think it wraps up a lot of questions that the original Lorien Legacies left open. So that I did like, and I do like that we get to see, you know, John and 9 and Marina. I like that we get to see Sam and 6. I like that we get to see some of those characters come back, and we get to see how they've matured in this new world that they're a part of and have built. But in 5, like, ooh, seeing 5 again was interesting. However, the new cast of characters that's driving the plot, I was just not attached to them. They were just kind of like, meh, you're here. You're the one the story's about, and you don't really get to know a whole lot about them, which kind of sucked. So I liked it. I didn't love it as much as the predecessor. If you haven't read it, I say read it for nostalgia, but it's also kind of unnecessary to read it. So there we go. Let's see. I read, Across the Green Grass Fields is what I read next. This one is Wayward Children series. I love Wayward Children. My goal was to finish the whole series up to book 10 by the end of December. But again, my butt was burned out. My butt was burned out. My butt was sleeping in as late as possible, getting up, reading 30 pages of my 30-page-a-day read, and then going to work, and then promptly playing video games when I go home. So I did not get to, and I'm very disappointed in myself. But I still really love this book. I think what Shannon McGuire does is amazing. Short novels are hard. You know, novellas are hard because you have to get so much emotional impact in such a little amount of time. You have to make the reader care about the characters and the plot in less than 50 pages. And some authors can't even do that with 500-page books, 300-page books. Like, it's fucking hard, you know? Shannon McGuire is able to do it, focusing on one character and their journey and how they got to this point. Like, what led them to this point where a door opened for them because they were so unhappy. Like, what got them to this point? So we're following Reagan, and she's intersex, and, you know, she likes horses, and she likes, you know, she wants to be the perfect girl, you know, to keep her friends in school. She doesn't want to be ostracized, but then she discovers she's intersex. And so she's like not really sure what to do with that information, and she feels like abnormal, and she feels strange. And she has loving parents. You know, her parents are wonderful. So the parents don't do anything wrong with her. They are loving, supportive parents. But it's the outside world that she just like doesn't know how she fits in. So she gets to open the door. And in this door are centaurs and satyrs, and she is like, they're like, oh my god, a human has entered the realm, our hero. So she discovers herself. And I think that that's what's really great about the series as a whole, is the characters are always discovering themselves. They're always discovering themselves and finding out who they are on the inside, right? And it's really quite beautiful to see the characters. So whenever they get the door that brings them back home, or whenever they're swept back home, you're just like, no, go back to your fantasy realm. I think it really is just a wonderful series. And I love that they're short and sweet and emotionally impactful and deal with hot topics, you know? Shannon McGuire has such a way of writing that it's beautiful. It's the best way. It's beautiful. It's relatable. It's beautiful, basically. I love Shannon McGuire. After that, I read The Deep Well. This was another arc sent to me by the publisher. This is a book I didn't know what I was quite getting into. I really should start reading the flaps of books and descriptions. I just say yes whenever I get published emails. Do you want this arc? Yes, please. Why not? I really should probably start reading the descriptions of the books. I feel like this is a book Stephen King would have written when he was younger for young adults. It definitely had a very eerie atmosphere to it. And, you know, you're dealing with a mass murder that happened when April was a kid. And also known as the Bicycle Girl. Because, of course, they made a very bad horror movie based on this incident, saying she's the Antichrist. Or she's the one who's supposed to open the doorway to portal to whatever other dimension. Well, when she was a kid, at the dig site, her father was a foreman. Her father disappeared. The scientist working on the site disappeared. The guy funding the project disappeared. And 20 people died. It's like a mass murder. And it's just like, what the? So you've got cults, and it's about to be her 17th birthday, and they think, oh yeah, she's gonna open the portal, finally. Who are you gonna kill? How many people are you gonna kill this time? And she's over it. She's over being called the Bicycle Girl. But then, you know, strange things. They're like, your dad's still alive. The portal is open. And you're just like, what? There was definitely there was a supernatural element. And I think my only grievance with this one is the supernatural element did not develop fully. Like, you can tell it's still existing by the end of the book. You know, it's open-ended, that ending. But you've got cultists chasing after her. You've got strange things happening at the dig site near the end. I wanted more of a supernatural element to come to life. You know? That is what I wanted. But we didn't get that. It was still a really interesting story. I didn't know where it was going to go or where it was going to take me, so I was intrigued and I was engaged from beginning to end. And that's not true. The first, 5 chapters, I struggled to get into this book. It was a struggle for me. But once we got past those first couple chapters, I was like, okay, finding my momentum here. I'm kind of sucked in. I want to know more. I'm interested. I like our characterization. I like the subplot of the romance between her and Zach. He's a good guy. I like him. I like that she has a best friend, Grace, who's like a super genius. And it's like, yeah, I will totally help you investigate these papers left by the scientist. Let's do this. And then you have her sister, her little sister, and her, aunt who still lives near the dig site. So it's really, really interesting. You have a really good cast of characters. The rising tension was well done. I think the pacing was well done. I just wanted more of a supernatural aspect to come alive by the time we got to the end of the book. I'm not saying the portal had to open, but the fact that there's a voice every time she goes near the dig site that sounds like Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service, and that's my favorite Studio Ghibli movie, saying it's time to fly, it's time to fly, and she still hears that voice whenever she gets to the dig site. That was eerie. And I wanted a little bit more of that eeriness. Like, I wanted to know what's the voice? What is the voice coming from? Didn't we open a portal? Like, what? Like, what's going on? I have questions. We're not answered. And that's my biggest grievance. But not everything needs an answer. Except I wanted an answer. After that, I finished The Poison King. I was reading this book every night to my son. This is the sequel to Impossible Creatures. I liked it. Arya? Why do I want to say Anya? Princess Anya. So I was right, Anya. Princess Anya is our new female protagonist in this book. I think the characters are great. I love that Anya is not a replacement for Mal. I love that she is very much her own character. And what I think the author does really well is she deals with very big emotions in such a very delicate way. Kids are not immune to big emotions, and I think we as parents do a disservice to our kids when we try to negate the big emotions, right? In fact, for kids, big emotions are even bigger, because they feel with every fiber of their being. And with Anya, that's what's happening here, Her grandfather was just murdered. Her father was framed for murder by her uncle, who is now planning her death because he wants the throne. Come to find out, he has been the one poisoning dragons around the archipelago, which is why Christopher was brought back to investigate the poisoning of the dragons. I love Christopher as a character. He's grown so much. He's very much a hero. He's very empathetic as well, and I think that's really key for his characterization. He's a very soft-spoken character, which I think is such a good balance when you have a character like Mal or Anya. He doesn't feel any less, but when he does have that outburst, and he does in this book, you're just like, oh, it's like, you feel those feelings, sir. Because he has become a protector. He's a protector not just of the archipelago, but he has formed such a deep friendship with Anya that he is now her protector. He wants nothing more than to see her safe and not murdered at the hands of her uncle. So they're trying to foil his evil plot and get her back on the throne, if only just to save her life, while they have to find the antidote for the poison that's poisoning the dragons. Because he won't stop there, I think it's such a good story. It was really fast-paced. I love the artwork that's also in the story. I love Irian and our Berserker and our Ratatouska, Night Hand and Ratwin. I think the cast of characters is just fun and delightful. Our sphinxes, our dragons. I love the magical aspect of the story. I love the fantasy. And I love that this is a book that I was able to read to my son. He's 6 now, I was able to read this book to him. And he thoroughly enjoyed it. And he loves looking at the map, the map in the beginning of the book. He's like, where are we now? And I'll go, well, we're on the island of Glimt here. Glimt. G-L-I-M-T. I'm like, we're here, and we have to get back to here. And I'm like, this is where the dragons were. So he's like, so totally engaged, right? And I love that, I love that my kid is engaged in reading this book. And I like how he also got attached to these characters. He was really sad when Mal kind of died in the first book. But he's like, is that baby Mal now? I'm like, yes, Mal's back, kind of, because the immortal never dies. The immortal is just constantly reborn. He said Anya reminds him of his sister. And I'm like, yeah, I feel that. I'm like, but Mal is more like your sister. My son reminds me a lot, you know, Christopher actually reminds me a lot of my son, you know, very empathetic, very soft-spoken. But when he does feel like those really big feelings, because Anya has to deal with hate and anger and grief and loss and this need for revenge. Like, she's dealing with a lot of big emotions. And Christopher is still dealing with the loss and love he had for Mal, you know? Big emotions. But an accessible way for kids to, like, understand the big emotions and process those big emotions. Because Anya has to process those big emotions in this book. So it was a really, really fun, engaging novel. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I cannot wait to see the next book. So that's going to be fun. All right. After that, Make My Wish Come True. So this was another book by Rachel Lippincott and her wife, Allison Derrick. This one follows superstar Arden, who has to go back home to Barnwich, Pennsylvania, because there's this role she wants. And in order to get the role that she wants, she needs to break away from her bad girl kind of facade that she's built up. The bad girl image, party girl image, right? Well, easier said than done, because now she has to go back to the home where she cut everyone out, including her longtime crush and childhood best friend, who's just like, you left me behind. You said we were going to be friends forever. Turns out she also had a crush on her, so both girls had secret crushes on each other. And now they're fake dating. So for an article that she's going to write for Cosmopolitan, so that she can add it to her college portfolio. So fake dating turns into real dating, turns into reconnecting with your roots, reconnecting with your community. It was a lot of fun. It was, again, so not a book I would normally pick up, but it was a super sweet, good holiday read, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So, you know, it was fun. It was heartwarming, I should say, not fun. It was engaging, it was heartwarming, it was sweet. And I like the growth of Arden in this book. You know, she goes from the image that has kind of taken hold, but now she has to deal with everything she's kind of like kept locked inside her, and she has to like let it go. In order to move forward, she has to let it go. With estranged parents who were just taking all of her money and, you know, kind of just cutting her out. So she cut them out. And like the loneliness of it and the loneliness of her lifestyle, you know, she has to contend with all of that and figure out what she wants for her future. Not just this role, but what does she want in being a superstar? I read this, All That We See or Seen by Ken Liu. This was from my book club, Read Whitson's Workshop. We read this one. I love this book. It's cyberpunk without being like heavy cyberpunk, like Cyberpunk 2077. It's cyberpunk in a way that, you know, it's really tech savvy. Obviously, you can tell this takes place in the future. I love that it takes place in Massachusetts because I'm a Massachusetts girly. I went to Emerson, whoop, whoop. Grew up in Cambridge, whoop, whoop. So I love all the tech talk and the Bostonian talk and all the references to the subway system. So it was really interesting. Julia Z reminds me a lot of Lisbeth Salander from the Millennium Trilogy. You know, the girl with the dragon tattoo, girl played with fire, girl kicked a hornet's nest. That's what she reminds me of, except not so rough around the edges. If you know, you know. She's as much an introvert, but she really wants to like just use her tech now by the end of the novel to bring down the bad guy, right? The whole virtual dreaming aspect really allows her to connect with her inner self and her deeper self. It's a really good therapy system. And it just allows her to find a sense of community. And finding that sense of community allows her to face herself. And then it allows her to be like, you know what? I'm going to bring down this motherfucker. So, and she does, because she's amazing and she's Julia Z. She's very much like Lisbeth Salander. And I love that about her. But again, not as rough around the edges. Not as like, I'm gonna kick your ass. More like, I'm gonna use my tech to just destroy you. And I love that for her. I love that for her so much. She's great. I want to read more. I will say, I hated Ellie. Especially by the time I got to the end of the book, I'm just like, I fucking hate you. Your husband deserves so much better than you. We'll see if we see her in any more books, but Julia Z, love her. Cannot wait to see where her next adventure is going to take her. After that, I read This Will Be Interesting by E.B. Asher. Same author as This Will Be Fun. Yeah. Same universe. This book was so good. I loved it so much. I could not put it down. Oh my god, this book. It's cozy fantasy. It's funny. It's a little steamy. It's a little spicy sometimes. It was everything that I love. I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. It was such a great book. I really want E.B. Asher to just like keep writing more books on this realm because it has the fantasy, it has the coziness, it has the questing the heroes. It's just fun. It's a fun read, you know, multiple POVs, but you really get to know who these characters are. Great personalities, great character dynamics. Pacing's amazing. Love the plot twist. I love the romantic entanglements that form, especially when Gladwell the Great, he's like, if we're gonna go on this quest, there's one thing. No romances. What happens? Romance, romance, romance. I mean, he falls for the hot assassin. The busty assassin. Kind of love her. Love her. Mona the Merciless. Love her so much. But it's such a great novel. Can you tell? I loved it because I loved it. It was so great. Just read it. Just read it. Trust me. You'll have no regrets. Just read it. After that, I read The Prince of Mourning. Another arc from the publisher. Really, really enjoyed. It was not what I gotta really start reading the flaps of these damn books. Judged it by the cover. It said Gothic romantasy. I was like, okay, here. I'm here. Book, please. It's historical fiction Gothic romantasy. So, sorry. Yeah, was not expecting the historical fiction part. Book starts New York. And I'm like, what? New York? We're in New York? What? And then I go along, I'm like, what is this book about? I really need to start reading the flaps of books. But I was not disappointed. Follows Molly. Another Molly. Hope the other one was Molly too. So follows Molly. She is a nurse in training in New York. I forgot the year. I didn't write that down in my notes. But nurse in training. And she can see dead people. And she can talk to dead people. In fact, Bethany, who was a former nurse in training alongside her, who died because they gave her the incorrect dosage of morphine, is her like sidekick and partner in arms. So she is sent to this estate far away, right? Outside of New York City. So, you know, one of those rural areas outside of New York City, right? Think Sleepy Hollow, kind of. And she discovers Nim. Who is Nim? Nim is a god. He is the Prince of Mourning, as in he goes to people who are in mourning and he comforts them. He offers them comfort. You know, he's the Prince of Mourning. She discovers he is trapped on the estate, and now she's trapped on the estate. Now they have to figure out, why are they trapped on the estate? Evil plots with magicians who have found a way to cheat death repeatedly. Imps. An evil brother, the Prince of Murderers, as well, is also trying to get to Nim. It's a really interesting story. I liked how the Gothic element and the fantasy element really fit within the historical aspect of the novel. Usually, when I read historical fiction, which is very rare, it has to have like some sort of magical element, but it can't be so far-fetched that it's like not believable. But all three of them work together really well. You know, the gothic, the fantasy, and, you know, that historical part. They worked together really, really well to deliver a really interesting plot. I liked the rising tension in the book. I think the characterization was really well done. I love that her best friend is Bethany. I love this ghost. That is her sidekick. I love her so much. She's great. I think overall, the story was really, really well done. Honestly, I loved it. I loved it more than I thought I was going to love it. It's one of those books where I'm just like, oh yeah, I liked it. But now the more I talk about it, I'm like, you know what? No, that was actually a really, really good book. To the point where I got to the ending, I was mad. I was like, oh hell no! After everything that they've been through, that's how you're gonna end the book? They're not gonna get back together? What's gonna happen? And then we get the epilogue. And I'm like, oh, okay. Cool. We're cool. Okay. The epilogue made me happy again. You don't see them get back together, but the implication is he has to go get his prophesized bride who speaks to dead people. And you're like, oh, okay. All right. We're good. We're cool. I was emotionally invested in their relationship by the time the ending came around, to the point where I was literally exclaimed. I was like, what? My boss is like, what's going on? I'm like, this book. And I'm like, wait, there's an epilogue. Read it. I'm like, okay, I'm happy now. It was only like 2 pages. And she's like, what happened? And I told her. She's like, okay. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, you were invested. I'm like, more than I thought I was. So it's one of those books I think about, and I'm like, you know what? I really, really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. I'm thoroughly surprised, honestly. I thought I was like, man, it's okay. But no, I really enjoyed it. Again, I exclaimed very loudly about the book, to the point where my boss is just like, you okay? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, okay, now I am. And the last book was Cardcaptor Sakura, Volume 3. I love Cardcaptor Sakura. This reading, it just makes me want to re-watch the anime, and I need them to finish animating the clear card arc. I need them to finish that. The amount of times I've Googled the status of it in just the last 2 weeks, like, when am I getting this? When am I getting this? Like, I really hope they do collector's editions of the clear card arc as well, honestly, to go with my collector's editions I've got here. So, I love Cardcaptor Sakura. That's all I can say. It was great. I love not the animation, although I do love the animation. I love the art style. I love how we get to see the characters interact with each other. I love the panels describing each character. It's great. It's fun. I love it. So yeah, those are the 15 books I read. I tried to make this video, you know, kind of shortish. I'm sorry. Not sorry, but I'm sorry. In any case, thank you all for tuning in. Wish me luck for January, and let me know in the comments how your December went. Let me know how your year went. Did you pass your goals? Did you meet your goals? Just, you know, let's have a conversation. And anyway, in any case, thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book club friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.